Hello, hello. Different location. Well, sort of. My desk is just there. Welcome to Volume 2, class number 2 of our meditation classes. If you haven't taken the first class, I recommend you go back and take that. If you're feeling like you want to do a bit of breath work, then welcome. So last class, we were focusing very much on just the breath. I was talking you through the basics of meditation before we began that. And depending on how you felt around just focusing on the breath, you probably know already if you like to do that kind of breath focus meditation, which is very much like mindfulness meditation, when you're really focusing on that breath moving in and out of your body. Some people love just that. It's really important when you're building a consistent meditation practice to really find what works for you, because that is kind of one of the things that puts people off, is they think that there's only one way, because maybe they've been taught that way, that there's just this one way. And if they don't like it, then they move away from meditation altogether. And we really don't want that. We want you to build that consistent practice, enjoy it as much as possible, be comfortable, and keep coming back, because it really is what happens outside of the meditation that's super important. So even though you might not feel something right in the meditation, you will find out later on through consistent practice that it starts to affect all around you in your life. Like, you become less kind of stressed, you sleep better, you find that you don't react as quickly to things become a bit easier in terms of things that present themselves in your day-to-day life. You can handle with more grace and ease than what you would if you're not meditating. And if you have anxiety or anything like that, it really does help. And I really recommend that if you can, to have a meditation practice in the morning, if you can. And from that place, even if it's just 5 minutes, to build on that and have that consistent. And then if you want, you can add time to that, or you can add a second meditation of the day in the afternoon. Completely up to you. But today we're focusing on pranayama. Pranayama is a breathwork practice. Breathwork has become hugely popular, and it's taken from ancient practices, yogic kind of practices, where we're focusing on the flow of breath. You may have heard of Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi breath is breath that yogis recommend when you're doing asana, which is your movement practice in yoga. And Ujjayi breath is a restriction of the throat. So some people don't like it. But what it does, it slows down the breath into your body, and creates almost like a balancing of the nervous system. It kind of calms down the nervous system. So if you're moving through an asana, for example, like vinyasa, where you're doing down dogs and some salutations, that slowing of the breath and the easing of the nervous system helps people to move through the practice with more focus. But at the beginning, it can feel quite constrictive when you're doing exercise at the same time. But some people love it to use in a day-to-day breathwork practice, and not whilst they're practicing yoga. Like, you don't have to do it in yoga practice. You can do it outside of yoga practice. So we're going to go run through a couple of pranayams. So Ujjayi would be the first one we're going to talk about. Ujjayi breath, as I said, is a constriction in the throat, which sounds like, why would I want to do that? But a really easy way of you thinking about Ujjayi breath is the waves. So as the waves come in and as they move back out again, that's Ujjayi breath. So the sound that you're making or creating with your breath as you're constricting your throat is like the waves. Okay, you might be thinking you're insane, what you're talking about, but inside your brain and body, it sounds like water coming in and going back out again. It's just like the waves flowing in and out. So how do we do it? So all you need to do is focus on, not even that you're closing your throat, It's literally the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest bit of pressure. So if you hold the intention just to almost like constrict just a little bit. So let me get into it because you have to do a few breaths first of all. So we're going to take a deep breath in first. So you can take that in through your nose and let it go through your mouth, and just taking a few of these deep breaths first, creating a place of grounding first of all, taking another deep breath in here. Even that, like 3 of those deep breaths, so good for settling everything down. Honestly, it's science. It's not just me saying it. So if you're ever feeling in a stressful situation, really just focus on taking 3 deep breaths. Now we're going to start to play with this ujjayi. I want you to breathe in through your nose. And then as you're breathing out through your nose, I want you to almost like constrict your throat, like you would with your abs. Don't hold your breath right now. Like you would with your abs, you know, if you're like doing that, you kind of do the same thing with your throat. It's really hard to show you because you can't feel what I'm feeling, but you're basically constricting. So you've got muscles in your throat on either side. You're basically giving pressure to these muscles, so it closes your throat just a tiny, tiny bit, right? We're not suffocating ourselves here. So as we take a breath in through our nose, you'll hear the sound of it, right? That sounds like a wave. And then we constrict a tiny bit and we let it through our nose back out again with that slight restriction. And you'll hear it like a wave, okay? So let's practice that one time. We're going in through the nose. Constrict. And back in again. Have that pressure there. And letting it go. So at first, when you first start this, you're going to feel like you can't breathe, okay? So there is no pressure here. If you don't like it, don't do it. Move on to the next thing in a second. If you want to get this, it's going to take a little bit of practice. You might get it straight away, but don't panic if you can't breathe. If you can't breathe, or if you feel like I need more air, because the body is going to be like, sometimes, do it. Take a breath. There is no pressure here. You don't have to hold your breath. If you feel uncomfortable, you can just breathe, okay? So let's take in again. We're going in through the nose, making that sound like a wave inside your body. And then you're just constricting that a little bit, just a little bit of pressure, and coming back out through your nose. Let's do one more. So what it should sound like inside, it should sound like, remember when you were a kid and you used to get those conch shells from the beach? Very rarely would you see them actually, you know, the big shells. You'd see them like if you were somewhere abroad, or you'd see them in a souvenir shop and you'd hold it to your ear and you could hear the sea. It's the same sound as what you're getting inside. So just like you would tense your ribs, you're tensing this throat muscles, right? But you're not tensing it so much that you're closing off your throat. It's literally just a little bit, just a little bit. And what that does, it slows down the flow of your breath into your body, which then slows down the nervous system, right? So it sounds kind of bizarre, but if you think about breath work in general, what we're doing is we're manipulating the breath in order to work with the nervous system. Okay, so everything to do with breath work is to do with the nervous system and the brain, the way the brain functions, the way the brain metabolizes, and the same with the nervous system. Are we raising that or slowing it down? Okay, so you might hear like breath work where you're doing a 2 inhale, that fast breath where you're going, that's kind of like energizing. That's breath of fire, right? So some people struggle with breath of fire because they find that they're getting almost like they're hyperventilating, and some people love it because it really gives them that power that they're looking for. So that's a little bit about Ujjayi. As we go along, we're going to be discovering all sorts of things to do with breaths, mantras, mudras, all of that sort of stuff. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is my favorite, pranayama. And that's the one that we're taking in and going back out again. Okay, so this pranayama is, some people call it like going up the mountain and coming down the other side in simple terms. Basically, you're taking your breath in through one nostril, you're holding the other one. When it gets to the top, you're holding it if you choose. You don't have to hold your breath, okay? There's kind of 2 different schools here. You can either go in, hold, go out the other side, hold, go in one side, hold, go out the other side, hold. Or you can go in, out, okay? But we're always going up one side of the mountain, out the other side, coming back to the same side, out the other side. Okay, so we always finish on the same side, but it's alternate nostril breathing. Okay, so we're closing off one, then we're closing off the next one. Some people like to hold it, some people don't. Okay, so to begin, we're not going to hold it. You'll see yogis do it like this, 2 fingers on the third eye. You don't have to, you can just hold it, whatever works for you. I always do this because I've been doing it for years. I find this comfortable. So we're going to go in through the left. I'm trying to think because the camera. We're going to go in through the left. We're going to go up. We're going to go out through the right, back in through the right, and then back out through the left. Okay, got it? I'll talk you through it. It's a little bit like, what did you say? All right, so we're going to put our fingers. If you want to do this, you can. If you're right-handed, you can do it. Actually, I'm right-handed. I always do my left hand. Whatever suits you, right? There is the thing with yoga, you should really use your left hand because you use your left hand for everything, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter, whatever feels comfortable to you. So we're gonna get ready. Let's take a breath actually before we start. So taking 1 deep breath in. There we go. And then we're going to close the right hand nostril, right? Close it off. We're going to breathe in through the left. We're going to open the right hand nostril, letting it go through the right hand nostril, okay? We're going to breathe back in through the right hand nostril. Close the right hand nostril, open the left and let it out the left. In through the left. Out through the right. Back in through the right. Closing the right, out through the left. In through the left. Out through the right. Back in through the right. Close in, out through the left. Beautiful. So you can continue that for as long as you choose, right? You can get longer with your inhales, longer with your exhales. If you like to count, you could count 5 breaths in, 5 breaths out. Mine's about 8, but I've been doing this sort of stuff for a long time. So you can build up to that. This is my favorite ever breathwork practice. Okay, it's amazing. It's not talked about enough because people have breathwork become so popular that people do a lot of box breathing, which is amazing too, the 4-4-4-4. But this is an ancient practice. It's been around for thousands of years, and it really does, what it does is it regulates everything. So like your box breathing, you're regulating the system. And this does the same thing, slowing everything down. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. And if you're the type of person that tends to get sinusy or get bunged up, it's actually really good for that, to go alternate nostril breathing. If you're finding you're wanting to balance your masculine and feminine, also amazing because you're using both sides by themselves, and it really powers up each side by itself. It's really great. So if you want to like pause this now or after this, go back to that, do it. So good. I can't recommend it enough. So there are 2 breathwork practices we're looking at today. There's lots and lots of different types, which we'll continue to look at. For example, that breath of fire where we're taking 2 inhales and out. That breath, okay? There is also your lioness breath, where you're taking a breath in and sticking your tongue out. That's lioness breath also. As you can tell, I'm fanatical about all of this sort of stuff. But there's so many different types. So don't ever be like, it's like meditation. Don't ever be put off by one type of thing if you didn't enjoy it, because there is so many different types that you can find a breath work and a meditation practice that's going to work for you. And even you can combine the 2 of them. So focusing on your breath, like we did in the last class, where we were really focusing on that breath, which is like a Zen meditation where we're focusing on mindfulness. Breath work is another way of doing that, because you're focusing just so much on that breath coming in and going back out again. So it really, really does help you. So that is it for today's class. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message and let me know, and I will see you for our next one. Have a great day.